You thought healing would feel like sunlight. You thought the moment you closed your old wounds, the world would bloom around you, colors richer, air sweeter, life overflowing with meaning. You believed that when the pain was gone, joy would take its place. But here you are. The pain is quieter now. The chaos that once consumed you has thinned. And yet, there is a hollow space inside you, a silence that feels less like peace and more like absence. You have healed, but you still feel empty. Carl Jung understood this. He knew that healing, in the way most people imagine it, is incomplete. Because most people confuse healing with repair. They think it's about patching the broken places, sewing the skin back together, smoothing out the cracks. But Jung would tell you, healing is not about returning to who you were before the wound. It's about becoming someone who could never have existed without it. And here is the problem. You've closed the wound, but you haven't yet stepped into the self it was trying to create. You stopped the bleeding, but you haven't filled the space the pain once occupied. You ended the fight, but you haven't begun the next chapter. That emptiness you feel is not failure. It is the space between death and rebirth. The place the alchemists called the nigredo, the black phase, the void, where the old self has dissolved, but the new self has not yet taken form. It is uncomfortable, not because something is wrong, but because transformation is still underway. Most people panic here. They mistake the absence of pain for the absence of life. They rush to fill the emptiness with noise, new relationships, new projects, new distractions. They cannot bear the silence because they never learned how to listen to it. But this silence is the most important teacher you will ever have. It is the clearing after the storm, the soil after the fire. It is where you decide what will grow now that the weeds are gone. And if you skip this part, if you rush past it, you will rebuild the same life you worked so hard to escape. Jung would tell you that the wound was never just damage. It was an initiation. Pain stripped you of illusions. Loss taught you what truly matters. Suffering forced you into the depths, where you met the shadow you had spent your life avoiding. And yet, healing is not the end of the journey into those depths. Now, you must bring something back from them. You must take the raw material of your pain and use it to create a life that did not exist before. Not the old life restored, but a new one, born from the ashes. The emptiness is the invitation. It is the space asking to be filled with meaning that is truly yours, not borrowed from others, not inherited from culture, not dictated by fear. And that meaning cannot be given to you. You must forge it yourself through choice, through risk, through the willingness to live without guarantees. Because here is the harsh truth. Pain gives life its urgency, but meaning gives it its depth. And if you only remove the pain without replacing it with meaning, you will feel like a ghost in your own skin. This is why so many people sabotage themselves after healing. They think they missed the chaos, but what they really miss is the sense of purpose it gave them. Even if that purpose was survival, it still filled the void. Now that the fight is over, they are unarmed in the face of stillness. Jung would call this the crisis of individuation, the moment you are no longer defined by your wounds, but have not yet defined yourself by your own vision. It is the most dangerous point in your life, because it tempts you to go backward, simply because forward is still unclear. Do not go backward. Do not mistake the void for failure. The void is possibility, stripped bare of all disguise. It is the blank page before the story begins. And now, the pen is in your hands. But here is the truth. Most will never face the blank page is terrifying. When you have spent years surviving, every day dictated by pain, you have grown accustomed to being moved by necessity rather than by choice. Your suffering told you what to do. It told you what to avoid, what to fight, what to chase. Without it, you are left staring into the expanse of your own freedom. And freedom without direction can feel like drowning in air. Jung would tell you that this is the moment the real work begins. Not the work of bandaging the wound, but of building the soul. And this kind of work does not come with instructions. It asks you to turn inward, not toward the wound now, but toward the part of you that was never touched by it. The self, not the ego you have used to navigate the world, not the mask you wore to survive, but the deep, quiet center of your being that has been here all along. You have to meet it. You have to listen to it. And then you have to let it lead. But here is the problem: the self does not shout. It does not demand. It waits. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in sudden moments of resonance you can't quite explain. It is the faint glimmer you feel when you read a line that pierces you, when you see a landscape that stirs something ancient in you, when you imagine a life so aligned with your truth it almost scares you. That is the voice you must follow now. It will not give you the whole map. It will give you one step at a time. And taking that step will require something you haven't needed for a long time: courage. Not the courage to survive pain, but the courage to create in its absence. This is where most people falter. They mistake the absence of pain for the presence of peace and stop moving. But peace is not the end goal. It is the foundation. And on that foundation you must build something worth living for. If you do not, the emptiness will return with teeth. It will pull you back into situations that hurt you, because at least they made you feel alive. It will tempt you to reopen old wounds, just to feel something again. It will seduce you with nostalgia for the very things you fought to escape. Jung knew this pull well. He called it regression. It is the psyche's attempt to retreat to a familiar state when the unknown feels too vast. And the only way to resist it is to replace the familiar pain with a new and unfamiliar purpose. You must dare to ask yourself, if I am no longer defined by what hurt me, what will I be defined by? If I am no longer fighting for survival, what am I willing to fight for now? The answer will not arrive fully formed. It will come in fragments, in instincts, in subtle shifts, in what draws your attention. You must be patient enough to notice and brave enough to follow. Because this is the paradox of healing. The wound may have been the fire that forged you, but it is not the life you are meant to live. Once the fire has done its work, you must step out of the ashes and build something the flames could never touch. And that is the work before you now. Not to return to who you were, not to cling to the identity of the survivor, but to step fully into the unknown and create a self that has never existed before. That is the only way the emptiness will finally be filled, not by going back, not by staying still, but by daring to become. And becoming is not a gentle process. It is not the soft golden image painted by self-help books and social media posts. Becoming is violent in its dismantling, tender in its reconstruction, and relentless in its demand for truth. Because the moment you decide to create a self beyond the wound, you must face the question, what have I been carrying that no longer belongs to me? You will find beliefs there heavy, rusted, and handed down like heirlooms. Beliefs about what you are capable of. Beliefs about what you deserve. Beliefs about how much space you are allowed to take up in the world. These were the invisible walls of your survival. And now they must fall. Jung would call this the process of individuation, stripping away the false layers so the true self can emerge. It is not about improvement. It is about excavation. It is about digging so deep into yourself that you pass through the rubble of everything you were told to be until you touch something raw, untamed, and wholly yours. At first, it will feel disorienting. The identity you wore for so long, the one built around your wounds, will start to dissolve. You will catch yourself thinking, if I am no longer the broken one, the fighter, the survivor, who am I? And the answer will not come in words. It will come in moments, in the way you notice beauty where before you saw only danger, in the way you choose stillness when before you would have chosen chaos, in the way you no longer feel the need to prove your worth to those who cannot see it. But here is the trap. You will be tempted to cling to the old self simply because it feels solid. You knew how to navigate life as the wounded one. You knew how to survive. This open expanse of possibility feels far less certain. That is why most people never cross this threshold. They heal enough to stop hurting, but not enough to start living. They choose the comfort of their old identity over the risk of building a new one. And so they circle the same emotional ground for years, calling it peace when it is really just safety. But safety is not the point. Freedom Island and freedom requires stepping into the unfamiliar. The emptiness you feel now is the price of admission. It is the space you must walk through to reach the other side. And it will not be filled by waiting for someone to give you permission. It will be filled the moment you decide. I will no longer live a life built from my pain. I will live a life built from my power. This is the moment Jung would call the turning point, the crossing from healing into creation, from the past into the future, from who you were into who you are meant to become. And once you take that step, the emptiness will no longer feel like a void. It will feel like possibility. It will feel like the wide open air before you take flight. And here is the truth. You will taste, once you cross into that air, the life you are meant to live will not resemble the life you lost. It cannot. Because that old life was built for a different version of you, one shaped by wounds, bound by survival, and tethered to patterns that could no longer hold you once you began to awaken. This is why the emptiness feels so strange. You keep looking for a doorway back into something familiar, but all you find is a vast, unmarked horizon. And that's because you're not meant to go back through a door. You're meant to carve a path where no one has walked before. Jung would say that the psyche resists this moment because it requires the death of the old ego. Not a gentle fading, but a death. The persona you've used to navigate the world, the one that said, I am the hurt one, I am the resilient one, I am the survivor, must dissolve completely to make room for the self. And the ego fears this more than anything because it has built its entire kingdom on that identity. But there is no kingdom worth keeping if its walls are made of wounds. You are not here to spend your life defending the site of your pain. You are here to build something beyond it, a life so aligned with your truth that it doesn't just heal you, it transforms you. And transformation is never comfortable. It will strip you of the relationships that only knew how to love the broken version of you. It will pull you away from the environments that thrived on your silence. It will demand you stop playing small for the comfort of those who fear your expansion. But in their place, something rare will arrive. The friendships that recognize the real you without the mask. The work that ignites your soul instead of depleting it. The love that sees your wholeness and does not flinch from it. And all of this comes at a cost. You must walk through the desert of emptiness without trying to escape it. You must let the old self burn without rushing to rebuild it. You must sit in the silence long enough to hear what the self has been whispering to you all along. You are not here to return. You are here to become. This is the point where the healing becomes alchemy, where pain, once just a wound, becomes the raw material of your power, where survival turns into creation, where the emptiness stops feeling like a grave and starts feeling like the fertile soil of a life you have not yet dared to plant. And the moment you plant that first seed, a choice, a vision, a step towards something entirely yours, you will understand why the emptiness was necessary. It was not a void. It was space being cleared for the life that is finally ready to begin. And when that life begins, it will not arrive with fanfare. There will be no trumpet blast, no sudden rush of applause from the universe. It will arrive quietly, almost unnoticed, in the smallest of shifts, the way you wake up without the heaviness that used to anchor you to the bed, the way you make decisions without second-guessing whether you deserve the outcome, the way you speak without rehearsing your right to take up space. This is how the self emerges, not in one grand moment, but in 1,000 subtle declarations of sovereignty. It shows itself in the choices you make that no one else will ever see, the things you say no to, the things you finally say yes to, the boundaries you hold, even when they make you shake, the dreams you protect from people who would rather see you small. And as you live from this place, the emptiness begins to change shape. It is no longer the hollow echo of what was lost. It becomes the open expanse of what can be created. You stop seeing it as something to fill for the sake of filling it. You start seeing it as sacred space, reserved only for what is true, what is necessary, what is wholly yours. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation, the slow, deliberate alignment between the life you live and the self that has always been there, waiting to lead you. It is not a path for the impatient. It is not for those who cling to the comfort of familiar cages. It is for those willing to let an entire version of themselves die in order to live a life that matches the depth of their soul. And this is where you begin to realize the wound was never the point. It was the doorway. It brought you to this threshold, to this empty, terrifying, beautiful expanse where you finally have the power to decide who you will be without it. Most people never step through. They stay at the doorway, decorating the past, rearranging the furniture of their old identity, calling it healing because it's safer than transformation. But you have walked through. You have let the silence hollow you out so that the truth could echo inside you. And now the truth has weight, has presence, has form. You are no longer living as the person who was shaped by their pain. You are living as the person who was born from it. And one day, without even realizing it, you will wake up and notice that the emptiness is gone. Not because it was filled with noise or distraction, but because you have built something so alive, so aligned, so entirely yours, that there is no room left for the hollow places to echo. This is the final stage of healing, not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. And once you arrive here, there is no going back, because purpose is not a destination, it is a state of being. It is the current running beneath every thought, every action, every breath you take. It does not require external validation, applause, or reward. It simply is steady, undeniable, and unshakable. You will know you have arrived when you no longer chase meaning in the chaos of the world, when you no longer reach for others to complete your story, when you wake up every morning with the quiet certainty that the life you are living is the life you were always meant to live. This is the essence of Jung's message. Healing is not enough, because healing without transformation is just a pause between storms. It is a fragile truce with the past, not a victory over it. To truly heal is to go beyond the wound, beyond the pain, beyond the survival story you've told yourself for so long. It is to step into a life where your soul leads, where your truth is your compass, where your purpose fills the spaces healing left behind. And in that life, you will finally feel whole. Not because the world is perfect or pain is gone, but because you have become so deeply aligned with yourself that nothing can unsettle your core. This is the freedom Jung envisioned, the freedom to live without fear, without pretense, without the desperate need to prove your worth. The freedom to create, to love, to exist fully and without apology. You have healed, and now it is time to live. Living fully means embracing paradox. It means holding both your shadows and your light without flinching. It means recognizing that emptiness is not a void to fear, but a vessel to fill with your own truth. Jung taught us that the psyche is like an ocean, deep, mysterious, and constantly shifting. You cannot control its tides, but you can learn to navigate them. You can learn to sail even when the storms return, because now you carry within you a compass forged by your own transformation. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of doubt becomes a wave you ride rather than a crash that drowns you. The emptiness you once feared now becomes the fertile sea from which your purpose rises. This is the courage of the awakened soul, not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward anyway. not the elimination of uncertainty, but the willingness to face it with open eyes and a steady heart. And when you live like this, you become a beacon, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have dared to ask the hardest questions. You heal not just for yourself, but for those who will come after you. You become a living testament to the truth that pain, when faced and transformed, can birth a life of profound meaning. So, when the emptiness creeps back, do not run from it. Do not fill it with noise or numb it with distraction. Sit with it. Listen, for in that stillness, yourself will speak. And when it does, you will know not intellectually, but deeply in your bones that you are not empty. You are becoming. You are whole. And in that knowing, the emptiness dissolves not because it is erased, but because it is transformed. It becomes the sacred space where your soul expands, where your true self unfolds, where your deepest purpose takes root. You are no longer defined by the wounds you carried or the pain you survived. You are defined by the life you create from them. This is the profound promise of Jung's wisdom. Healing is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new one, a story written by you from the depths of your being, with the courage to face the unknown and the conviction to live fully. You healed, and now you are free. Free to become the masterpiece you were always meant to be. Step into that freedom. Step into your power. And live a life so alive, so real, so unapologetically yours, that the world will have no choice but to notice. Because you are not empty. You are infinite. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. But that is only half the truth. The eyes are not just windows, they are mirrors, portals, codes, written in color and light. They are the living record of where you have been, and the silent map of where you are meant to go. When you look into your own eyes, you are staring into something older than your body, older than your name, older than the life you are living right now. Carl Jung understood that symbols carry truths the conscious mind cannot easily grasp. And your eyes, those small, seemingly ordinary spheres, are one of the deepest symbols your body holds. Their color is not random. Their depth is not an accident. The hue you carry is an echo of your soul's task in this life, the mission you were born to fulfill, even if you've never spoken it aloud. Think of the moment a child opens their eyes for the first time. The body is fragile, the voice unformed, but the eyes are ancient. They arrive already knowing. They have looked on things the conscious mind will never recall, but the soul has not forgotten. Your eye color is not just pigment, it is frequency. Every shade, from the palest blue to the darkest brown, carries a vibration. It is the signature your soul signed into the matter of your body before you took your first breath. It whispers the nature of your path, the terrain you are meant to walk, the shadows you are meant to face, and the light you are meant to bring into the world. Blue eyes, clear as frozen seas, speak of vision and distance. The soul behind them often carries the gift of seeing beyond the immediate moment, sensing patterns and possibilities others miss. But with that gift comes the challenge of grounding, of not drifting so far into the horizon that you forget to plant your feet in the soil of now. Green eyes, rare as untouched forests, hold the code of transformation. The souls who wear them are alchemists in human form, meant to take the raw, chaotic materials of life and transmute them into something new. They walk between worlds, carrying the tension of both creation and destruction within them. Their mission is change, but change requires the courage to let things die. Brown eyes, deep as fertile earth, belong to the stabilizers, the anchors, the builders. These souls have come to root themselves in the human experience, to nurture life, to hold the structure while others dance in the winds. But their challenge is not to mistake stability for stagnation, because even the strongest soil must allow itself to be turned. Hazel eyes, shifting like light over water, mark the shapeshifters, the adaptive souls who cannot be caged in one form or destiny. They carry many lifetimes' worth of skills and perspectives, able to move between roles, cultures, and identities with ease. But in that fluidity lies their test. To know when to choose, when to stay, when to hold still long enough to leave a lasting mark. And yet, beyond all colors, there is a deeper truth. The mission is not written in the eye color itself, but in the way it reflects who you truly are when you strip away the noise. Your eyes do not just reveal where you are strong, they reveal where you are afraid. They reveal the places you avoid looking at, both in the world and in yourself. They betray every moment you pretend to be something you're not. Look closely in the mirror, not at your face, but into your own gaze. Hold it without flinching. What do you see staring back? Not the socially acceptable version of you, not the mask you wear to keep peace. The other one, the one who knows exactly what you came here to do, even if you've been ignoring it. Most people avoid this exercise because the truth in their own eyes is too loud. Jung would call this the confrontation with the self, the moment the conscious mind meets the totality of who you are, without distortion. It is both terrifying and liberating, because once you see it, you cannot go back to pretending you don't know. Your soul's mission is not something you choose. It is something you uncover, something you remember. And your eyes, these ancient witnesses, are the keys. They will remind you of the moments you were most alive. They will show you the things that still spark fire in your chest. They will reflect the wounds you carry, not as scars to hide, but as instructions for how to heal, not just yourself, but others. The code in your eyes is not there to predict a fate you cannot change. It is there to call you back to yourself when the world tries to make you forget. It is there to remind you that you were born not by accident, but by appointment. That the traits you carry, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you move through this world, are not random fragments, but pieces of a design. And the moment you stop avoiding that design, the moment you meet your own gaze and say, I know you, everything in your life begins to realign around the truth you were born with. Your eyes already hold it. They always have. The question is whether you will have the courage to see it. And when you finally dare to see it, truly see it, something ancient stirs inside you. It is not a voice you hear with your ears. It is more like a vibration, a pulse deep in your chest, as though the universe itself is reminding you, this is why you are here. It feels both familiar and strange, because you have known it all along, yet you have buried it under years of noise, expectation, and survival. Life has a way of covering the soul's mission with layers of dust. But your eyes, they never forget. They have been holding the code quietly, waiting for the moment you are ready to remember. This is why, when you look into the eyes of another and feel an unexplainable recognition, it's not just attraction, it's resonance. It's two frequencies aligning, two codes speaking the same ancient language. You don't need words in those moments. You know them, because something in them reflects the truth in you. And yet, most people never unlock this. They live their entire lives looking outward through their eyes, never realizing the deeper treasure lies in looking inward. They use their eyes to scan the world for opportunities, threats, approval, but never to search their own depths for the original assignment they came here to fulfill. Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The code in your eyes is the bridge between those two directions, outward and inward. It is the reminder that the truth of who you are is not found in the crowd, but in the mirror. Every time you deny that truth, your eyes change not in color, but in light. You've seen it in others. The dullness that creeps in when someone has abandoned their path. The shadow that clouds over when they have silenced their own voice for too long. The restless flicker when they are trapped in a life that does not fit them. And you've also seen the opposite, the unmistakable clarity in the eyes of someone who is aligned with their mission. It's almost unsettling, the way they can look at you as though they see past every mask you wear. That clarity isn't magic. It's the natural result of living in harmony with the code they were born with. When you align with your soul's mission, your eyes sharpen, not in cruelty, but in focus. You no longer waste sight on what doesn't matter. You begin to notice the details others overlook, the patterns beneath the noise, the subtle openings where destiny invites you forward. And that's when the world starts to respond differently to you. Doors you thought were locked swing open. People you once had to chase begin to find their way to you. Situations that felt impossible shift in ways you couldn't have planned. It isn't luck, it's resonance. When you live according to the code in your eyes, your life stops being a random sequence of events and becomes a field of alignment. The right things start to find you because you have finally stepped into the frequency where they live. But here is the danger. Once you awaken to that mission, you will never again be able to tolerate what is out of alignment. The jobs, the relationships, the routines that once numbed you into comfort will begin to feel unbearable. You will feel the pull to shed them, even when it's inconvenient, even when it terrifies you. And that is where most people stop. They catch a glimpse of the truth in their own eyes, but the cost of living it feels too high. So they turn away. They go back to sleep. They convince themselves it was just a passing thought, a fantasy, a phase. But you will know better. You will know that the cost of ignoring your mission is far greater than the cost of following it. Because every time you look in the mirror, those eyes will remind you of what you abandoned. They will not let you forget. The code will keep calling, softly at first, then louder, until it becomes impossible to ignore. And when it becomes impossible to ignore, you will feel it like a storm building behind your ribs. Not a gentle nudge, not a passing idea, but a pressure, an ache, an almost physical force pulling you toward the life you were meant to live. You will wake in the night with the sense that something is unfinished. You will move through the day feeling like you are wearing clothes that belong to someone else. And no matter how much you try to distract yourself, the pull will still be there. That's the nature of the soul's mission. It does not negotiate. It will wait, but it will not compromise. You can try to silence it with busyness, with routine, with the comfortable mediocrity the world rewards. But in the stillness, always in the stillness, it will rise again. Your eyes know this. They are the one part of you that never lies. Your voice can flatter, your posture can deceive, your words can deflect, but your eyes will tell the truth to anyone who knows how to see. Even you, especially you. And here's the thing Jung would remind you. The mission written in your eyes is not about personal glory. It's not about chasing some ego-driven image of success. It is about becoming the exact force the world needs you to be, nothing more, nothing less. It is about fulfilling the reason you were trusted with this body, this breath, this lifetime. You will know you are aligned when your actions begin to carry weight beyond your own life. When the work you do, the words you speak, the way you move through the world leaves a trace that others can follow. Not because you told them to, but because something in them recognizes the code in you and it awakens their own. This is why the rarest connections you will ever feel are not built on shared hobbies, similar tastes, or even mutual goals. They are built on resonance between two missions. You will look into someone's eyes and see that they too have unlocked their code. There is no jealousy there, no competition, only recognition. Because when you meet someone else who has embraced their mission, you realize you are not walking alone. But understand this, the path is not without cost. The moment you begin to live according to the code in your eyes, you will lose certain people. Not because they are bad, but because they are not ready. Your clarity will unsettle them. Your direction will expose their drift. Your courage will challenge their excuses. And you must let them go. Not with bitterness, but with the understanding that their time will come or it won't. That is their path to walk, not yours to carry. The more you walk in alignment, the sharper your vision becomes, not just outward, but inward. You begin to see every place you have been dishonest with yourself, every time you've played small to be accepted, Every mask you've worn for so long you almost forgot it was a mask. And you strip them away, one by one, until the person staring back at you in the mirror is the one you were meant to see all along. When you reach that point, your eyes will change, not in color, but in presence. They will hold the steadiness of someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to hide. They will carry a depth that will make some people feel at home and others feel exposed. They will be the undeniable signal that you have remembered who you are. And once you have remembered, the mission begins in earnest. And when the mission begins in earnest, life stops moving in the slow, predictable rhythm you once knew. It accelerates. Opportunities appear that feel less like chance and more like summons. The right people cross your path at the exact moment you need them, not by coincidence, but because you are now walking the path that was always meant for you. You will notice that decisions become clearer. Not necessarily easier. Sometimes the clearest decision is also the hardest, but the fog of indecision that once clouded your life will begin to lift. Because when you are aligned with your soul's code, there is less noise. The endless what-ifs that once spun in your head are replaced by a steady, almost instinctive knowing. This is the way. But with that clarity comes responsibility. The mission in your eyes is not a romantic fantasy. It is a calling that demands discipline, sacrifice, and courage. It will ask you to let go of comfort. It will demand that you face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It will strip you of false identities, not to punish you, but to make you light enough to carry the work you were born to do. You will have moments where you question whether you are capable of it. Nights when the weight of the task feels too great. Days when you long for the simpler life you had before you awakened. But each time you look in the mirror, those eyes will anchor you. They will remind you that the simpler life was never truly simple. It was just smaller. It was filled with compromises that drained your soul in ways you didn't notice until you stopped making them. This is why the mission can never be forced on someone. It must be chosen consciously, repeatedly, especially when it costs you something you thought you couldn't live without. And here's the paradox. The more you choose it, the more it will give back to you. Not always in the ways you expect, not always in applause, recognition, or tangible rewards, but in a deep sense of rightness that no amount of comfort could ever replace. The sense that you are living in sync with the pulse of something greater than yourself. When you walk in that alignment, your presence changes the space around you. You become a living reminder to others of what is possible when a person chooses truth over safety. Some will be inspired, some will be threatened, but all will feel it. This is the silent power of unlocking the code in your eyes. You don't have to preach it, you don't have to convince anyone. Your life itself becomes the proof. Your gaze becomes the mirror in which others see the gap between who they are and who they could be. And in time you will realize the mission was never about reaching some grand destination. It was about becoming the kind of person who could walk this path with integrity no matter where it leads. Because when your last day comes and your eyes close for the final time, it will not matter how many understood you, how many approved of you, or how many followed you. What will matter is this. You saw your mission. You lived it. You carried the code with honor. And for that, your soul will know you fulfilled what you came here to do. And in that final knowing, there will be no fear, no grasping at what could have been, no bitterness toward those who doubted you or those who left. Only the deep, unshakable peace of someone who did not turn away from what was written in their own being. Because that's the truth most never face. Your soul's mission is not given to you by chance. It is tailored to you, down to the very fibers of your existence. The strengths you were born with, the struggles you endured, the strange and winding paths that brought you here, they were all part of the preparation. Even the moments you thought were detours were shaping you. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the years of feeling lost, each one carved depth into you. Depth you would later need to carry the weight of what you were here to do. The pain you cursed in the moment became the muscle you lean on now. And if you look closely, you'll see this truth in your eyes even now. That's why they carry both light and shadow. Because your mission is never just about spreading light, it's about holding both. It's about understanding the darkness well enough that you can guide others through it without getting lost yourself. The world will try to tell you that this calling is impractical. It will push you toward safer paths, toward work and relationships that don't demand so much of you. It will tempt you with easier lives that require less truth. And maybe for a time you will be tempted. Maybe you'll even step away from the mission for a while. But you will always come back. Because you can't unknow what you've seen. You can't unhear the call once you've truly heard it. You will come back. Because your soul has no interest in comfort at the expense of purpose. You will come back. Because every time you look into your own eyes, you will see the quiet insistence there, the reminder that you are not finished yet. And when you finally surrender to that truth fully, you will understand that the mission was never a burden. It was always a gift that was meant to challenge you, yes, but also to expand you, to show you the vastness of who you are when you stop living for approval and start living for alignment. A gift that would bring you into contact with people and places you never could have reached otherwise. A gift that in the end would be the very thing that set you free. And when you leave this world, that freedom will remain. It will remain in the work you've done, in the people you've touched, in the invisible currents you've shifted, just by daring to live according to what was written in you from the beginning. Because your eyes, those ancient witnesses, will have seen it all. From the moment you were born to the moment you left, they will have carried the code faithfully. And in that last instant, when they close, it will be with the certainty that you answered the call. You found your mission. You lived it without compromise. And that is all the soul ever asks of you. And in that last breath, there will be no unfinished business between you and your life. No lingering ache of if only. No quiet shame of roads not taken. Only the steady calm of someone who stood in the center of their truth and refused to move. The world may not have understood you. It may not have celebrated you in the way it celebrates the comfortable, the compliant, the easily explained. But it will have felt you. It will have been shifted, however slightly, by your existence. Because you did not come here to blend in, you came here to leave a mark. Not in shallow applause, not in temporary fame, but in the unseen ways that shape the soul of the world. And you have. Your eyes, the ancient record keepers, will have seen the mission through from beginning to end. They will have watched you stumble, rise, choose, and choose again. They will have witnessed you stand against the gravity of fear, the seduction of safety, the pull of smallness. And now, as they close for the final time, they will close in peace. Because the code they carried from the start has been fulfilled. You became what you were sent here to become. You did what you were sent here to do. And that is the rarest ending of all. To leave this world knowing you lived the exact life your soul was meant to live.